Hey guys, welcome back. And today we're going to go over 4.4, which is solving systems of equations. And today we're going to look at our last method, which is called elimination. And before we get into that, I do want to review our substitution method. So our think/warm-up is solve the following systems of equations, or the system of equations by substitution. And here we see that we have x already solved for. So I'm saying x is negative 2y plus 3. So in this top equation, I'm going to replace x with negative 2y plus 3 since I'm saying x is negative 2y plus 3. So in place of x here, I'm putting negative 2y plus 3, negative 2y plus 3 in parentheses, right? Because if I'm saying 2 times x, I better have 2 times the entire thing, negative 2y plus 3, minus 3y equals 20. And then I just solve from here on out. We can distribute this 2 times negative 2y is going to be negative 4y. 2 times 3 is going to be positive 6. Then we solve that minus 3y equals 20. And then combining like terms, negative 4y minus 3y is going to be negative 7y plus 6 equals 20. Minus 6 from both sides. We get negative 7y equals 20 minus 6 is 14. Divide both sides by negative 7. And we get y equals negative 2. All right, so we have y equals negative 2. Now we need to plug this back in to get x. And I'm going to plug it back into this bottom one. You could plug it into the top one, but I'm plugging it into the bottom one because the bottom one is already solved for x equals negative 2 times y, which we just said was negative 2 plus 3. Negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4, plus 3 is 7. So really our final answer, remember when we're solving a system of equations, our final answer is the point, and remember it's the x value first, which is 7, and then the y value, which is 2. All right. So that's just a little review. So now we've looked at solving systems of equations by graphing and finding an intersection, or by using substitution like we just did. Now we're going to look at a new method called elimination. And essentially, to solve a system of equations by elimination, what we're going to do is we're going to multiply or manipulate one of the equations we have, or maybe sometimes even both, so that they have a variable with matching or opposite coefficients. That's the number outside the variable, like 2x, the coefficient is 2, right? And so we either want to match those or make them opposite, so 2 would match with 2, or the opposite would be negative 2. And then we can add or subtract these equations to create a new equation in one variable that we can solve. And so I think this is best done just through an example. So example 1, solve the following system of equations by using the elimination method. So what I want is either the coefficient on the x's or the y's to match, or be opposite. Luckily, what I have here, I see I have 10x and negative 10x, so those are opposite. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add both, I'm just going to add the two equations together, because 10x plus negative 10x, those are going to cancel. And then I have negative 2y plus 9y, that's going to be 7y. And then here, I get negative 46 plus 18. So negative 46 plus 18 is going to be negative 28. If my pen will work, negative 28. Divide by 7, divide by 7, and we get y equals negative 4. So again, after adding that, notice the x's disappeared and we just had one variable with one equation. So now we have a y value of negative 4. Well, we still need an x value, right? So let's undo what we did here and just look back up here. Now we need an x value. And now we're going to plug it back in to whichever one seems easier. This one just seems like it has smaller numbers, so this one's going to be easier. So I need to solve for x. So that one, now I have 10x minus 2 times y, which we just figured out was -4, equals 18. So that's 10x. -2 times -4 is +8, equals 18. Subtract 8 from both sides. And then we're going to get 10x. 18 minus 8 is 10. And divide both sides by 10. That's going to leave me with x equals 1, right? And so now, again, our solution is an ordered pair with the x value first, 1, and the y value, -4. So this is our solution. Okay, same thing with this one. I'm looking for variables that are either the same or opposite. And here we have variables that are the same. So instead of adding, because I'm going to want these y's to disappear, I'm going to subtract. I'm going to subtract this bottom equation, right? -5x minus 6x is going to be -11x. 5y minus +5y is going to cancel out, equals -10 minus 1 is going to be -11. And now we can just solve for x by dividing by -11. And we get x equals 1. And notice again, after we were done here, the y's canceled out, which was the whole point. So now that we have x equals 1, we can substitute it back into whichever one we think would be easier. I'm going to go with the bottom one just because they're all positive. So then we're going to get 6 times x, which we just said is 1, plus 5y equals 1. So we get 6 plus 5y equals 1. Subtract 6 from both sides. We get 5y equals -5. Divide both sides by 5, and we get y equals -1. And so then again, our solution is going to be a point where it's our x value first, and then our y value. And it's called elimination because we're eliminating this variable completely. Right. Now on to the next one. Here, we're going to notice something. We aren't given any coefficients right off the bat that are equal or opposite. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to multiply one of these equations so that they match. And you'll notice that we kind of have two different options. We can multiply this equation by 6 so that we get 6x and 6x, or we can multiply it by 2 so that 4y times 2 equals 8y. So let's do that. So I'm going to multiply this whole equation by 2. And what happens when I do that is I'm going to get 2 times x, which is 2x. Then I'm going to get 2 times 4y, which is 8y. Then I'm going to get, then we have that equal sign, and then 2 times 4, which is 8. And I'm just going to rewrite this one over here, 6x plus 8y equals -8. And now notice the y's match. And so for 8y and 8y to cancel, we're going to need to subtract this second equation. So 6x minus 2x is going to be 4x. 8y minus 8y is going to cancel. And then we have our equal sign. And then -8 minus +8 is going to be -16. Now we've eliminated the y, and we can just solve for x by dividing by 4, and we should get x equals -4. Again, now we have to solve, and we can put this in any equation we've gotten. We could put it in one of the equations up here if we wanted to, but I think putting it in this equation here looks the easiest to me. So we have x, which we just said is negative 4 plus 4y equals 4. Just solve for y now. We're going to add 4 over, left with 4y on this side. 4 plus 4 is 8. And then we divide by 4 once again to get y equals 2. Now, once again, we have an x value and a y value. And our x value goes first, negative 4, and then our y value, 2. And that is our answer. Right. Just 2 more examples to go. Here, once again, we'll notice that neither of these match up right away. And instead of kind of having 2 options, right, there's nothing that we can really multiply like 4 by really nicely to get 6, right? So we're kind of stuck with doing this one. We have to multiply 6 by 2 to get 12. We want 6y to get to 12y. So we're going to multiply everything here by 2. And that's going to get us 2 times 4x is 8x. 2 times negative 6y is negative 12y. Then we have our equal sign. 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. And now I'm just going to rewrite this one over here so I can line it up really nicely. It makes it easier to add or subtract. Now we'll notice here, since we have positive 12y and negative 12y, I'm going to want to add these, right? So 6x plus 8x is going to be 14x. 12y plus a negative 12y, that's going to cancel, right? Plus a negative is really just subtraction, so 12y minus 12y is going to cancel, equals 36 plus negative 8, or 36 minus 8, which is 28. And we simply divide x by 14, or 14x by 14, to get x alone. 28 divided by 14 is 2. And then again, we can put this one back into any equation we would like. I think that this one right here looks easiest, so I'm going to do it to this one. We have 4 times x, which we just said is 2, minus 6y equals negative 4. 4 times 2 is 8. We're going to subtract the 8 over to get negative 6y. Negative 4 minus 8, being careful with our negatives, is negative 12. Then divide both sides by negative 6 to get y equals negative divided by negative is positive, and 12 divided by 6 is 2. And so in this case, our answer is x first, 2, and then y second, which is also 2. And that is going to be our answer. All right, last one here. Funny thing we'll notice is 2 things going on. We can't multiply either of these. 5 doesn't multiply nicely into 9. 3 doesn't multiply nicely into 10. So what we're going to have to do in one like this is we're actually going to have to multiply both. So we're going to have to find a least common multiple, and whichever one you think is easiest. I think 3 and 10 are going to be the easiest to match. I know that those are going to have a least common multiple of 30, right? So I want to change this 3 to a 30. So I'm going to multiply this by 10. And I'm going to want this 10 to also be a 30. So I have to multiply this side by 3. When I do that to this top side, 3 times 9 is going to be 27x. 3 times negative 10y is going to be negative 30y. 3 times negative 1 is going to be negative 3. Here, when I scoot it over, 10 times negative 5x is going to be negative 50x. 10 times positive 3 is going to be plus 30y, which is what I wanted, right? And then 10 times 21 is going to be 210. So the whole point of this is that now we can add these. Negative 30y and 30y are going to cancel. 27x minus 50x is going to be negative 23x. Okay. And equals, because those canceled, negative 3 plus 210 is going to be 207. And then if we divide both sides by negative 23, use a calculator for that one, we're going to get x equals 9. Again, we need to find our y value, so plug it into whichever one you think is easier. Again, I'm just going to plug it into this bottom one, but you could plug it into either one. So we're going to have negative 5 times x, which we just found out is 9, plus 3y equals 21. Negative 5 times 9 is going to be negative 45, plus 3y equals 21. Okay. Add 45 to both sides. And we'll get 3y equals 66. And then divide both sides by 3. And if you need a calculator for this, that is totally fine. You get y equals 22. So our answer is a point where we put our x value 9 first, and then our y value 22 second. And that's how the elimination method works. And just to round this off, remember, this is just another way to solve these, right? We have 3 ways now. We could solve them by graphing and finding the intersection, substitution, which we did at the beginning, and now elimination, where we eliminate a variable by adding or subtracting equations. But that is going to wrap up 4.4.